everyone. My name is Logan. I am the co-owner, director, and writer for Nightshade. You're the drug.
And I'm Chaz. I am also the co-owner and writer and lead artist and lead animator for the game. So
we pretty much wore as many hats as we could for this. So many hats, like Doug Dimmadome level hat.
We are just two creators who decided to make a game. So here we are. Thrill Switch.
Yes, we make up Thrill Switch games, just us two. It is a very small indie game company that made Nightshade, the visual novel. The game is currently out on Steam, Itch, and Jast. So that was pretty exciting that they wanted us around.
And we still have the demo link to our Kickstarter page too. And y'all can go play that if you haven't already.
Yeah. So what is this panel? What are we going to be talking about today?
Well, we're going to go a little more in depth into like the characters, the plot, our inspiration, and some of the things that we experienced when making the game. And then we're also going to talk about the DLC that will be coming out about Ada's chapter, and even a little sneak peek, a
little sneaky peeky at a little surprise, little something for y'all. So
that we've been working on. So
aside from the DLC,
and then we're gonna take some Q&A after that. So just stay tuned.
Yeah. While we're going through character stuff, if anybody has any questions, feel free. We'll take 1 or 2-ish questions per character, I would assume, and then the mod will just throw them at us. The mod today is Spicy.
Yes, thank you, Spicy.
Thank Spicy for being so great
and helping us out.
There are no not safe for work things popping up in the panel today, but the game is not safe for work. It is 18 plus, mature people's only, please, adults only.
Yeah, speaking of spicy, the game is really spicy, so yeah, we're not going to just show that here, but
I mean, okay. If you want to see the spice, you got to go play the game. But there are mature themes. There's murder, there's violence, there's
drugs,
lots of drug use, and generally toxic relationships and things like that. It's a darker visual novel.
Which is really what we kind of will go into, what we focus on in all this. So
yeah. So what is Nightshade, Chaz?
Oh, what is Nightshade? For those of you who haven't played the game yet or don't know too much, it is a thriller, romantic visual novel, 18 plus. Clearly, we said it a million times. And
just to be sure, one more time.
18 plus.
Okay.
Big kids only. And then our character over here, Sasha, on the left, who is our main character, is a 27-year-old drug dealer who doesn't quite know what he's doing in life. So, kind of relatable.
Kind of relatable. Heavily relatable.
And he hangs out with his best friend, Mishka, who is secretly, but not so secretly, an assassin. And everything is kind of going smoothly for Sasha until he gets caught in the crossfire between 2 major crime syndicates
in the city
of Sobena. So
that sounds horrible.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. So
it kind of sucks.
But you meet a bunch of kind of murdery. You meet a bunch of zany, fun characters along the way, and some kind of murdery characters along the way, which we are going to get into
right now, actually.
Yeah, why not start now? So for assisting us with this, we're going to use our art book because it's really straightforward and easy. You can see all the pictures of the characters and everything. So let's start off with my boy Sasha here, which we just kind of delved into, but now you can see he's got this lazy but colorful color scheme, which is pretty on point to his character. We use a lot of colors in this because we are very...
It's just how we are.
We just love colors.
Yeah.
Especially his infamous jacket there, but he almost never wears any tight clothes. So
I say we because we together have designed these characters, but specifically Chaz was the one who designed Sasha. As you can see in this little, hold on,
mouse.
Bring the cursor over. There we go. This little area here. This was his first design in 2017. He's obviously way taller now. But his design didn't actually change too much.
No, not really. So he is a drug dealer despite how colorful his clothes are, which does...
Hey, why is that?
Because in Sobena, drugs are pumped into the city. It is so common that being like on the DL isn't really the major concern, because
So you're saying if everybody's wearing neon colors, nobody's wearing neon colors.
no one, right, exactly. No one stands out. And also, I mean, when you have your hands so deep into like politics of the city and everybody knows, it's kind of like people aren't really scared to get caught that badly.
Yeah.
The consequences aren't as dire. So
The consequences will kind of always be the same.
the consequences will always be the same.
Okay. So he's got some, where did you go?
Oh, sorry.
Go
I'm
back.
learning how to use a map.
All right.
Do they have like a next?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
here we
can use
go.
the arrows.
Nice.
Are we done talking about how great he looks here?
Yeah, because he looks great
Okay.
over here too. Oh, look, over here in his bottom left corner was his first ever design, and he actually had a little tiny man bun, which we all see Vadim has now, so we kind of hijacked that from him.
We cut it off.
We cut it off. It was just a little, he looked too done up, and we needed him to look a little lazier.
Yeah,
so.
a little more disheveled, a little more, I just woke up and I don't care about that.
Yeah, his fashion every day is, I woke up like this.
Yeah.
But we love that for him.
So what when you were designing Sasha, what was your like go-to? What was your, I want this to exude from him?
Oh, well, you mean aside from the green hair that I clearly stuck to? I actually seldom use green, so this is like, he is a special child for me on this.
I think mint is special.
It's a good color. But I really did want him to look like a lazy punk. He is kind of selfish. And if you play the game, you'll see that very quickly. He is a bit more concerned about his own wants and needs than those around him, especially Mishka's. He takes advantage of that often. He was also raised by a really busy working single mother, so he had a lot of time to himself. So selfishness is almost kind of like a survival default.
It's how he learned his way in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And as you can see here, instead of just, shaving a piece of his eyebrow away like a fuckboy, he actually did injure himself, being the dummy he is. And so now that's actually just a part of him.
It's a forever fuckboy scar.
Yeah.
We talk about his teeth quite often, but I don't think we actually ever talk about his teeth.
No, I love the jagged teeth. I actually have a theory that the straighter my character's teeth are, the more evil they are. So
you're evil, psychotic if you get veneers.
Yeah, so I decided that I wanted him to have his cute little what do you call those little snaggle teeth?
Snaggle teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, so yep.
It gives him a lot of character.
It does give him some character. I don't think people focus a lot on teeth, and that's so important, especially when you have a character that smiles this much. So
yeah, he's a smiley boy.
He is.
Social butterfly.
Yes, absolutely.
Any questions for Sasha while we kind of hop around? I really like that his earrings are different colors up in that left reference.
Yeah, he likes to take.
How many earrings do you think he owns?
They're probably on a box and not organized whatsoever. They're like
just on top of a dresser.
They're in a shoebox.
A shoebox
in his closet.
I think that's even worse.
Yeah, a little bit.
Veneers are psychotic.
Straight equals evil. Got it. Okay, awesome. Well, if we don't have anything else, then let's move on to your boy.
My boy.
The boy.
My boy's the boy.
Why did it just ding on me? Here we go. Here we go.
Mishka. Mishka is 28. He's 6 feet tall, so he's gangly and lanky, but we wanted him to, he's an assassin, so he's supposed to be muscly at the same time. So he's in the what'd you call it, twunk?
Yeah, he's more of a twunk than a hunk.
He's in the twunk alley. He was created to be the best friend trope, unrequited love interest, sort of leaning demeanor. He's a bit obsessive, he's possessive, he is a little invasive, and a little means a lot. And he doesn't really, at least in the beginning of the game, he doesn't really have a respect for other people's boundaries, specifically Sasha's boundaries.
Yeah, having known each other since childhood, I feel entitled to your space.
Yes,
kinda.
Your space is my space, your mom is my mom, but not really.
Crawled into your window. Hi, I'm here.
Hi, I'm here.
We're playing games?
Yeah, absolutely. Which, throughout the game, your choices kind of deter either
determine
the outcome of if he gets over that or not. But as you can see on the right, he goes through many different outfit changes and even a hairstyle change if you play your cards right. Not hairstyle, hair color change.
That's a hairstyle change.
Color.
So he definitely has the most sprites in the entire game at 71. This boy dragged me through hell. But luckily we took the word sick off of his shirt because while he was cringe and free, we didn't want to animate or draw that. So that's the only real difference in his design aside from that is that his hair gets longer every time we draw him.
But that little doodle right there with the knife, that is his first ever drawing. I did that in 2017, so he hasn't really changed much at all, just his hair got a little bit longer. They
were really designed at the beginning to just be like two young punks, like that's what we wanted. And I mean, the punk aspect is more of a personality trait than an aesthetic now. But.
It's a lifestyle. And it's also, it's something that we were like, take punk, take all the edge, and then push it into a futuristic health goth area. That's kind of where we came up with most of these babies. But
also fun fact down here, this shot that you see in the demo,
the very first CG, he gets a text about building 0915. September 15th is the birthday of our dog Monet, who is sitting at our feet right now. Threatening to bark at any moment.
So there's a fun fact for you. More Mishka.
Sorry, I had to drink some tea. His reference picture up in the top left, exactly the same as he's always been. His hair is super vibrant, which you would be like, why? Because he's an assassin. But like we kind of said before, everybody's kind of vibrant in the city, so he kind of blends in.
But he also dyes it because of like Sasha helps him dye it. And I think if you see him here as a child, he did not have whoopsies. Don't look at that, man. Big mistake.
Wow, jumping in.
I'm just too excited to see Dima. Sorry, fans myself. But his brown hair is his natural hair, and he dyes it with Sasha to.
It's a bonding thing.
Exactly.
Like, I love my hair touched. So.
I think it also really shows how much more open he's become since knowing Sasha. He was very like to himself and very timid, despite how spiky his Yu-Gi-Oh hair is. And
don't out me like that.
But also his knife, the first knife he ever had, is this rainbow knife, which he actually named Sasha, and is also the knife that we sold for our Kickstarter pin.
Our little enamel pin there. It's interesting that you say Yu-Gi-Oh because it is actually a huge inspiration for me specifically. I think you, Chaz, also kind of picked up on some of that.
I did. But it rubbed off on me.
Big sharp hair, big sharp eyes, intense facial expressions. That's exactly where we got that inspiration from.
His tiny high-waisted pants.
Don't look at the typo on the screen. Don't perceive it.
Why didn't don't point it out.
Even look
point
at
it out. So you can learn a lot more about him if you play the game.
Ooh, speaking of game, he's in it.
Oh man, I love me some Dima.
This is
I'm not gonna apologize.
Your bias, I believe.
Your
bias is Dima.
I just love the dad types.
Real quick, Mishka is voiced by Will Benzel and Sasha is voiced by Ryan Doe.
We can't miss
fantastic.
Yes, exactly.
But back to Dima, he is 30. He's also 6 feet, so him and Mishka share the same height. He was designed, and that's his first design ever right there, that little tiny sketch there. But he was designed to be a leader figure. He's supposed to be the opposing force to Sasha's lack of ambition. Not sure if that really came across very clear, but he is kind at heart, just super ignorant. He has his mind in the right place, but he's not executing it very well.
Doing all the wrong things for the right reasons.
Kind of. So he definitely, when I designed him, but the character arc, the demeanor that we wanted, trope, that's the word. We were looking for somebody that could challenge Sasha. We believe that Mishka is a bit of an enabler. a teeny tiny enabler to Sasha's lack of ambition and his blaseness about his life. But Dima is definitely supposed to light a fire under his ass.
Yeah. And also he tells him no, which Sasha's like, excuse me?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not getting my own way. What?
Right. But he is at the core of our global plot, which is the two syndicates, because he does own Strexa, which is one of the two crime syndicates that, doing all the wrong things for the right reasons. Well, I'm going to make change, but we need money, which is also drugs.
Yes.
So,
but he also got roped in by his previous past traumatic experiences.
Yeah, which we will also get into that in a second. But we also wanted to point out some things about his design, especially things that don't like pop out at you, is he does have a prosthesis. So his left leg, this is all like a futuristic kind of, since the game is kind of set in 2040, it's like, some kind of automel looking stuff. But we also didn't want it to be like, actual cyberpunk. It's more cyberpunk inspired. So that's why
we wanted to tone down
the futuristic aspect, because sometimes the future doesn't actually move as fast as you think, more just like technology, but like the environment doesn't change as quickly depending on where you live. So we did want some small things like that. And he also has an eye patch. I don't think you can miss that one, but yes, he has one eye.
I don't know, eye patch not very futuristic, but
no, having another eye, I guess, would be futuristic. But
the design of his prosthesis is supposed to be sporty and agile, given that he's no longer a field agent, but he still has a highly mobile job. So we wanted something that looked very sleek and very sporty.
And also money.
He's very rich. He was the embodiment of rich CEO type. So that's where we were going with that. He also is kind of spoiled, rotten rich.
Look at this boy.
Yeah, a little baby boy. Grew up with politicians, with the bigger faces of the city. His family is highly influential.
With
lots of privilege. Yes, with Roman specifically.
Which they actually, so Dima and Roman's relationship being not only the global conflict, but also a big parallel to Sasha and Mishka's, because while you can make choices in the game to try and see how Sasha and Mishka's relationship will or will not progress, there's still the flexibility there, versus Dima and Roman's relationship is kind of more to show what happens when you can't necessarily save a relationship, because we do think it's important to acknowledge that there are certain changes one can make to save their friendship or romance or whatever. And then there's, just
some things that just can't be fixed.
They're just too abusive and bad for you.
Yes. And that it may be better to let go.
Right. But Dima doesn't let go. He's actually struggling with that. And that's where you kind of meet him, is trying to understand what to do with Roman. And
he's quite literally at a crossroads when you come to him.
Right.
And I think Sasha's influence is what helps him get through that decision.
Depending on if you decide
whatever that decision is, right?
Right. Because Sasha represents that kind of freedom of choice that he never really felt that he had, because he's always been kind of within the rules, the confines. I function within this system.
Yeah. Or the influence of others.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in his childhood, highly controlled by his strict parents. They had high expectations for him. He was raised with the idea of becoming a CEO or a politician. So he always has had high pressure stakes on his shoulders.
Right.
He also plays guitar.
Yeah, rock on. And is voiced by Eddie Young, who did amazing, and also had someone walk by while he was doing his not safe for work voice sounds, and that story kills me every time, so I always have to share it.
And then we've got Pav. Pav is, good God, one of my favorite characters of all time. He is 5'2", tiny, but not tiny in personality. He is the biggest drug lord in Sylvania. He's also a photochemist, so he makes the drugs, he makes the plants, he bioengineers, he science words, he does all that.
He science words.
His original design was a bit more flat and more pale, as you can see right here. But we decided, he needed to be a bit more peppy in his design because that's to reflect his personality. So his hair kind of got lifted and his eyes got a little more angular, a little more saturated. He likes loose-fitting clothing. He doesn't really like anything on his neck or his wrists. He has a very flashy side, loves the color purple, as you can see. He has a purple sports car that he does not know how to drive. And he has a cat that he loves with his entire life.
And brings her everywhere, despite the fact that cats are not allowed in every room in every building.
He makes the rules. Cats are allowed anywhere, everywhere.
Right. So Pav especially is a guiding force for Sasha when they first meet. And I think what's most important about him and his character that we designed him for was to show what a more stable and healthy relationship looks like with him and Vadim. And while flaws are really important to us about characters, we actually think about their flaws before we really think about their strengths. Pav has his flaws. He is really pushy.
Very pushy.
He doesn't have a whole lot of manners for people's personal space.
Almost no filter.
And he's very much like I'm doing things my way.
Yes.
But he also has gone through his healing.
Yes.
Already.
Yes.
So he's the character that we look at to show that he's gone through that healing. And he does express that with Sasha and helps Sasha start to heal himself.
Yes. He almost has confidence to a fault, I would say.
Yeah.
So that is what we wanted to accomplish with his character, was to be like the model character. That's not to say he's not without his faults and his flaws. Actually, his specific flaws are one of my favorites, because he's supposed to be so, look at him, he's got his shit together.
Right.
But he's still human, so he's got his issues as well.
Yeah.
The love of his life is Vadim.
Which, they have a story I would love to tell y'all, and we'll see if we'll be able to tell it, because there's so much there that we could not fit into the game without, now we're like tackling way more than we can handle for our literal first game. But Vadim is Pav's bodyguard, also an assassin and lover. Lover, and drives his car for him. As you can see from his original design, he has not really changed a whole lot aside from he got more saturated and fluffy, which seems to be the theme of all of our.
Everybody got more saturated and more fluffy.
Yeah, that seems to just more.
Yeah,
right.
Take them, but more. Do you think he likes driving Pop's car?
Is
he actually?
Who doesn't want to drive a Lambo?
No, that's what I mean. Like, you can't say Lamborghini.
Bambo beanie.
But seriously, I mean, like, I bet you he's like, Pop, do you want to go somewhere? Like,
yeah. But I mean, Pav probably doesn't even know most fast food places. I think he probably is like the type who would like DoorDash everything.
DoorDash, yeah.
But so Vadim, he does have some chromatic fangs here, which you don't really see much in the game because he's kind of a mild-tempered guy. Monet, you shake so loud. He's a pretty mild-tempered guy. He's a bit more grounding, and he's also the person who tells Pav, okay, it's time to tone it down. Stop pressuring people. You're going too far. Center yourself, boy.
Which is interesting because I don't think anybody else can tell Pop those things.
Right. I think only Vadim, not even his own boss, Dima, can tell him. He's just like, I do what I want. But so yeah, he has these chromatic fangs, which are also why he's called the Viper. In addition, as you can kind of see on his suited up sprite here, these two staffs are two pointed sticks that have poison in them that is made by Pav, and he stabs people with them. So he is kind of like a viper.
Yeah.
But more of why I want to tell the story is you can see here that before the game, he actually had long hair and a huge ponytail, and Pav cut it off as like a symbol of his new life from when he was raised in a vigilante group with his mother as he escaped a war-torn country. So
there's a lot to tell, and we really, really, really want to fundraise for that DLC. So we'll see. But
yes,
Ada's chapter comes first. So
Ada's chapter comes first.
We shall see about that.
But yeah, so that's Vadim. Kind of has some shippo hair going on here. I do too. He's really good.
I feel like he's really funny.
He's like that secretly chill funny.
Mhm.
And he was voiced by Belle Rusape, which is hilariously way more vibrant and boisterous. I'm like, I felt bad
So much energy.
giving such an energetic voice actor such a calm character. And I'm like, because whenever the voice acting is off, he is up to 11. I love Belle so much.
Yeah, very great person.
Which, speaking of big energy, Edward Mendoza, oh my God, like these
Eddie.
two were unbelievable chemistry when they spoke together.
Yeah, their chemistry is super great. And you can hear that the most through their audio drama, which we have out now. But yeah, their chemistry was like almost infectious.
Yeah. We're posting all the audio dramas on Patreon and on our store. So if you become a patron, you can just hear it for air quote free. And then if not, you'll be able to buy them on our store. So keep an eye out for theirs dropping because it has more.
Oh, my favorite.
Miss Indigo.
Miss Indigo.
So there is a lot that went into Indigo's design. But first, just kind of covering her as a person. She is bubbly. She is very sensitive, which is surprising for her working in this line of work. But also, remember, everybody's kind of in the illegal area of work in the city to get by. So, you know, it's not completely
evil.
Not completely uncommon, but she is like, she's sweet like Pav, a bit more reserved though. She's geeky, loves MMOs and D&D and cosplay and that kind of thing. That's why she's always dressing like the office princess.
She is a princess.
She is a princess,
hands down.
And she's also the head of Intel. So she's our techie, you know, our gal in the van, if you will, because you always have to have one.
She helps the field agents with routes and potential threats and all those things. So she's constantly in the ear of the other Strexa workers, helping them through their missions. So.
Oh, I hated drawing her crying. I'm like, no.
It made you sad to draw her crying.
Yeah.
What were your inspirations for Indigo specifically?
So for Indigo's design, for starters, there's not a lot of really influential female characters in traditional yaoi or BL games. And you see it a bit more now with like Western queer games. And I do appreciate that it's becoming more common, but all around
you wanted to see something different.
I wanted to see something different.
Yeah.
And since everyone in our game is queer, heads up, literally everyone in this game is queer, we did want some good lesbian representation, but not just simply that. As a Black creator myself, I wanted to see more Black lesbians. And then I also spoke to a lot of my lesbian friends and said, hey, what do you want to see more of? What do you not see enough of? And a lot of them said Black lesbians, fat Black lesbians. And I particularly got one person who said maybe not so, the hair was a big thing for them because in Blackness, a lot of identity is linked to hair. And so I wanted to keep that like pride and joy in her hair without making it just like big and, oh, you're not allowed to cut your hair because it's so long and so gorgeous and all that stuff. So I really wanted to capture that lipstick femininity lesbian with also a fat Black female character who had cut all her hair off. Yeah. So that's really like the design that we leaned into for Indigo.
Yeah.
So did cover a lot of ground there, but also after, asking around, it's like, this is what the people want. So this is what we're going to gladly give.
Yeah. So, and she's fucking amazing.
Yeah. She's gorgeous. We love her.
And blue is her favorite color.
Yeah. In case you didn't know, her name is Indigo.
I don't think she chose that.
I chose that
you
for
chose
her.
That.
So yeah. And of course you can't talk about Indigo without talking about her gal pal,
girlfriend. 100% lover. This is Natalie. Natalie is 6 feet tall as well.
Maybe we just like got tired and we were just like 6 feet. Everybody is 6 feet.
Everybody.
She does have heels.
She does. I don't know if that's with or without heels, but I'm gonna say without because then that makes her even taller.
Giant woman.
And
it is Natalie. I know it looks like Natalie, but because we like torturing y'all, it's Natalie.
The more that we wrote the story, so initially when we started Nightshade, we didn't really have a big role for Natalie. But the more that we actually wrote her story, the more she just like exploded off the page. It made more and more sense to have her be this big influential person with a loud voice and a loud presence about her. She was supposed to be, a side character, but I would actually argue that she popped out, stepped above everybody pretty much. Well, except for like Sada, but
yeah.
She was designed to reflect the women pioneers of the 80s, specifically in hair metal and glam rock bands like Heart and Vixen. So she has big hair. She's got flashy leather. She's got gold. She's got,
the whole 9 yards.
Really cute little jumpsuit looking thing, the leotard thing she's got there.
Yeah.
She specifically loves Sobena. Like her love for Sobena is actually what shines through the most, I would think,
right,
in the form of like community. She's very passionate about her cause and about protecting the people within the city.
Right. And that's what really made her so much stronger as a character as time went on, because to contrast our big names, so the big crime syndicates, we have Natalie on the ground, who's trying to represent the community, the people who are actually affected by the choices that these large companies make, because, nothing exists in a vacuum. Even selling all this money on drugs and everybody's aware of it doesn't mean that it's not harming the people. So when Sasha meets Natalie, it is a very important and grounding moment for him as well, because he's lived his entire life in Sobena.
Yeah.
He's lived his entire life at the mercy of this system. So Natalie is kind of like speaking more to him than he's like, oh, you're not like the Strexa kid. You don't look like one of those Strexa kids kind of deal.
Yeah, kids.
She did used to work for Strexa, which is how she met Indigo, but a lot of differences in opinion and feelings of betrayal, which you will notice in the game, led her to continue to carve out her own path.
Yeah, she decided, no, fuck this. This isn't the way about it. I'm gonna go do it myself.
Right. And then Meatball he's a Caucasian shepherd, also called an Osharka. He's massive, 180 pounds, big fluff. And we also designed him to have similar, aside from him being a traditionally like Slavic area dog.
Yeah.
Also to look like her, because I love the whole like 101 Dalmatians dogs look like their owners thing. So
I mean, that's fairly true. I think.
Right. Yeah. You kind of like gravitate.
Mhm.
Is that narcissistic to get a dog that looks like you?
No. Yes. No. Maybe.
But at least Meatball's a big sweetie, but he will knock you down.
He will absolutely, as you can, Sasha has experienced.
And she also rides a motorcycle with her heels on, and it has a pretty kitty sticker on the bike.
Yes. She adores Indigo, and throughout the game, they slowly get back together. There were some issues there between them, but you can kind of get into that a little bit more in their audio drama about the conflict that has happened between them.
Yeah, we got a lot of audio dramas to share with y'all. I'm so excited for y'all to hear them all.
Speaking of conflict.
Bing. Whoops. Speaking of conflict, we have our main antagonist.
He's here.
Roman, voiced by Nick Koyama, who did amazing.
Sorry. Shelanin did Indigo's voice, and Michelle Jin did Natalie's voice. Both is extremely superb.
Actually perfect. Like perfect. When I heard them, I was like, this is it. And then almost every take they did, I was like, don't redo it. It's no notes. But okay. Roman and Dima both run those. So he runs Ecto, which is the other company that rivals Strexa, all because that's kind of where he is. He's very vengeful and takes a lot of things personally. And so his failed relationship with Dima still haunts Dima, literally, physically.
Kind of haunts them both in their own way.
Right. But Roman's more pushy about it. So
Roman specifically takes it as you have come and attacked me.
You've wronged me.
You have wronged me personally.
He's very self-centered.
Like
yeah. Arrogant and very, very self-centered. And A lot of that does have to do with his childhood, but still doesn't excuse him being a big grade A butthead. He does have perfect teeth. See, it all comes back around.
Full circle. Perfect teeth.
Perfect teeth. He does dye his hair, as you can see of this younger version of him. He dyes it so he can be a bit more edgy. I actually designed him first in a dream, and he had orange hair, and that wasn't edgy enough. So I woke up and I was like,
was not cutting it.
No. And I also we wanted him to be less saturated because everyone else in the game is so colorful and so bright. And then we have, in contrast, Ramon, who is Ramon and Ada, who are a lot colder and lacking of that flexibility that the other characters have.
Yeah, and we wanted distance, not just in personalities, but also in aesthetic, because we wanted you to feel like, these are different people. Like, well, obviously they're different people, but like Ramon and Ada and Ecto and those who satellite Ramon are very much different types of people than the ones that are working
comparatively.
Yeah, like visually there's a difference.
Right, which color plays a big role in every single thing we've done in this game, which we will show you more in the background.
Yeah, we're very picky about color.
Right, so he does have that kind of urban ninja style. What's actually really the most interesting feature of Ramon is his eyes. Sometimes you see he has black eyes and sometimes he has ice blue eyes. His eyes are blue, but we wanted it to look kind of like a shark. So if you've ever seen real shark eyes, they look black, but they're actually blue underneath if you see them head on, and it's really creepy. So that's why you see when his eyes are more wide or he's more uneasy or unhinged.
Like focused on something.
Right. The eye color seems more obvious versus when he's in control of his emotions, it's dark.
Yes.
So that's what that's about.
Yes.
He also hates his older brother, who is also the mayor of the town. So there's some friction there, which you can see more of in the game.
Ada. You can't really talk about Ramon without talking about Ada, and there's a reason for that.
Voiced by the amazing Jason Larocque.
Oh yeah, Jason was so great with Ada. I specifically designed Ada, but we created them. We created Ada to be the other side of Mishka's coin. So what I mean by that is both of them, Mishka and Ada, have very deep-rooted issues with obsession and devotion. That is their toxic traits. His design is meant to be brooding and dark. He is supposed to be very snake-like in his appearance and also in the way that he moves about. He's fast, he's quiet. Most people don't see him, which is funny because you see him like throughout the entire game. Like,
most people don't see him, air quotes,
most people don't see him except
walking
you.
Throughout the day dressed as Catwoman.
But he used to be an aerial silk performer growing up, and he still uses those techniques to assassinate. So he will like drop from the ceiling kind of thing and quietly strangle you with him silk. But you know, that's the way it is. He is trans. That doesn't really play a huge role in the game, just because as a trans creator I didn't want it to. that's my, like, literally just like, I want to create a villain and also he's trans,
right?
So for me specifically, and my personal experience with my own individual transness, not speaking for all trans people, I just wanted a dark, broody, edgy killer who was also trans,
right?
And that's really like, that's it. That's just what it is, what it was. I wanted him to be so obsessed with Ramon and with the idea that he's in love, that he will do anything for him, even subdue some of his, all of his personal needs for that cause. Because Mishka, being that Ada is supposed to be like a reflection of Mishka, is that Mishka's obsession and devotion, depending on how you play the game, can get better. Ada's does not get better. And so it was like a parallel in which here's one situation or scenario where this can get better, things can change, and here's what it looks like when it doesn't, and what can really happen in those events. Of course, everything is circumstantial and has nuance.
And you'll see more of that in his personal chapter,
which is coming soon. So not soon, kind of soon. We're working on it. That's all I got for you. But yeah, his chapter is the next DLC that's coming. It was a reward on Kickstarter, like a tier goal thing. that we were able to reach. Milestone, question mark? I don't know. The point is it got unlocked. So we are going to begin developing that. We've got the story. It's gonna be great.
And we'll be posting more about it on our Patreon and Kickstarter updates, because this is something that was unlocked. So
you will get to see a not safe for work scene between him and Roman. You will get to see a bit about his past, his childhood, where he was and where he is now, and
why he is the way
he is the way he is. Yes.
Yeah.
So that'll be really, really interesting. I am super excited to delve into that one.
Especially he deserves so much because he's so quiet during the game, but
yeah. Okay, so these were the character design tiers that we wanted to show y'all real quick. These were tiers on Kickstarter that some people backed. We have Emerson, who was the chemist for Ecto, specifically and personally selected by Roman. We have Riker, who is, fun fact, Roman's dentist.
Hey, he has to have perfect teeth, which means he has a personal dentist.
We have Siren, who's the cashier at Pov's flower shop.
And is also trans by his little button.
By Melon Milk. And then we have Neo, who is a they, them, neon, them boy.
Neon, them boy, which is called Neo because we literally, when the person, was like, hey, here's what I want they, them, neon cowboy, and then they BRB'd, and we were like left with this awesome information. So we're like, oh my god. So we just called them Neo because we didn't have a name, and then it just stuck, and they were like, yeah, okay, I like that name.
Yeah, we wanted shiny, we wanted rhinestones, we wanted spurs, we wanted boots, we wanted big hat, we
all
wanted
or nothing,
fishnets.
All or nothing.
Yeah, I think that was one of the most fun designs we've done, honestly.
Yeah. Also, tiny fun fact, this little frog on Emerson's tie gets sad when he gets nervous. So keep an eye out for the frog on Emerson's tie.
That's great.
Yeah. And then, we have Sonia, the ultimate MILF, Sasha's mom. We have Arisha, Sasha's best friend from childhood, and a ton of other characters that you will see in the game, like Dr. Sexy. So yeah, that's pretty much all the characters. By the end of the game, we had almost 600 sprites, which we will probably have to add more in these next few things. So we had a ton of sprites. I'll just dip in a little bit into the setting. We kind of talked about it before with our characters, in that we wanted to create the city that has the neon, almost cyberpunk, but not quite, still shows a lot of differences in the classes. So you do see that in the slightly poorer areas, it doesn't really look like a lot has changed. And that's typically pretty consistent with real cities. Like if there's not a lot of money, it doesn't matter if it's been 20 years, the area still looks pretty similar, like these rusty
parks and rundown areas, and an entire restaurant that has a busted screen and things like that.
Right.
Sabana itself is a fusion city. So the biggest inspirations for that was, if you can think of like really big influential cities, Hong Kong, New York, San Francisco, Tokyo, Moscow, all of these very well-known cities that are expansive both in culture and in different architects. We actually pulled from all different sources, threw them into one, and then that's where we came up with the idea of Sobena. Eddie Young, our Dima's voice actor, actually went, when he lived in Hong Kong, he went around and took pictures of the food markets for us, and we used a lot of those references for the marketplace in the game. And that was something that was really important to us, was to mix in a bunch of those influences to really create the feeling that like this is actually a huge melting pot of a city.
Yeah. Omorphia was amazing. The group that is Omorphia did perfectly with our backgrounds, with whatever we gave them. You can see that a lot of the more rundown areas are actually warmer colors to show like that more home community feeling, versus like the rich areas or like
Strexa, the police station.
Yeah, are a lot cooler in color schemes. And also, as Sasha is at Strexa longer, you notice the colors start to become a little warmer and like pinker, which is something we also wanted to show, because it was like he started to feel more comfortable as he met people.
Yeah, as Sasha warmed up, so does his environment. And you can see that in the color scheme and the color script that we wanted to go for. So it was very important for us to convey emotion and invoke it through the backgrounds and color and also music. Huge pickiness about music, but
yeah.
And we also nailed that.
Put a lot of people's references in there because, or like people who backed the game actually got to put their names in it. So some of the backgrounds have the names. I'm not going to explain what you're looking on the left, but on the right was Sasha's apartment, first ever one. We really wanted to focus on stuff like that because someone's apartment is the character. It shows the character. So it should have all the character that the character does. And I also just wanted to show this as a fun fact. We use The Sims 4 as a reference to do these backgrounds because you use what you got, and we got Sims 4. So.
It's also easy to do like cluttering items and such that way. So
so that's really it in terms of like some of the inspirations. We ultimately wanted to make a game that was very
story heavy.
Mm-hmm. As you can see, we wrote the story, we rewrote it, we had our story revisionist look over it, write all these notes, tear it all the way apart,
rewrite it again.
Literally within 2 months of the launch date, we found out there was a huge plot hole.
Was like, okay, so it was 1 a.m. The realization hit me all of a sudden. I stopped, I looked at both of the story revisionists and Chaz, the other director here, and I was just like, oh no. And it was like catastrophic levels of plot hole. So at 1 a.m., we grabbed a bunch of index cards and just started hashing it out. And you could actually see down here in this picture, this is what happened.
It's our floor.
This is the floor of our dining room. We just panicked and ended up rewriting that entire part. So story was extremely important to us.
Whiteboards, index cards, paper, post-it notes, flow charts, MS Paint, like whatever we could write notes on, we wrote notes on, and we rewrote, and it was just so much, but it was so worth it to be like, I want my queer problematic crime story, and it needs to make sense. And that was actually the hardest part. Drawing, I've drawn my whole life. That's easy. Story is never easy.
No.
So if you're wondering like, when the game, I thought it was going to come out 2 months ago. It's like, that's because 2 months ago we found out at 1 a.m. that there was a plot hole and we rewrote it.
And we rewrote the entire thing.
But that is actually just the game dev life. So.
That is game dev life. So, but all right, so we got to move into Q&A. But before we do that, we are going to show you that little sneak peek that we were talking about. So if you want to get your questions ready, send them over to Spicy the Mod, or just post them in the chat and they'll collect them. And we'll show you that little sneak peek of what we've been working on.
Yeah, and it's totally this direction. Alrighty. I just like full screen this.
Yeah. What was that?
What is
that
going?
Was crazy.
What's happening?
Eye emoji.
Yeah, it was a short preview, but that's all we are willing to show you right now.
Yeah, it is eye, mouth, eye. It's what we're working on. It's our second game.
Oh no, we're back in hell.
Back in dev hell, but that's fine. Yeah.
So, yeah, if you have any questions or any just comments about the myriad of information we just threw at you, but
oh no. They went to the bathroom and they missed it.
Oh no!
We're going to be posting it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Jackie. When will the rest of the audio dramas be up in the store?
Okay. The audio dramas right now, we have 2. So we have Roman and Ada's starting, and then Sasha and Dima's out right now, and so we're trying to get another 1 or 2 out this like upcoming week, and then we'll try to get the last 2 out in the following week. So we're really trying to like pump them out. We just also like having the cover art for them all done, and we post them on Patreon first, and then we post them to our store, and then we're going to sell them all together. So
as a giant package at the end.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to wait, you can also get them individually or just subscribe to the Patreon. But I think there was another question. How many non-binary characters are in Nightshade?
So we have Arisha, who strictly goes by they, them in the game. That's Sasha's best friend with all the dreads or the box braids. And then Neon Cowboy is also non-binary.
Emerson
is non-binary. So
he, they.
So Emerson's the scientist that works for Ecto, and then Neon Cowboy, the true chaotic neutral of Sobena, works for whoever has money and information. So we kind of tried to get a little variety of some characters in there. But yeah.
We also had another question of how long did you work on the game and the story in particular?
So we designed our characters in 2017, and it mostly started as just like small role plays. So we did kind of loosely work on the story up until 2019, where we really hit it hard. The story definitely took the longest, and we were working on the story up until literally
like a month
before we launched.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say, because we gave ourselves a year to do
the game, which
is way too little. Do not ever do that.
We did have to take a break due to personal losses during COVID, and that was and like family members. So that was really rough.
I would say 8 months.
It took us about 8 months to really just like stop what you're doing, hammer out the story. Do
8 months of working like 12-hour days every day kind of thing, which was way too much. So
yeah, we were pretty much working for $5 an hour for most of 20
a game dev
20 and 2021. It was not but yeah.
A question for creating a visual novel. What's the hardest, most difficult aspect that you weren't expecting?
That we weren't
expecting? Some was the limitations with Naughty Novel was a real headache. We chose Naughty Novel because it was really cool, and I do recommend it. It's just a lot of stuff we wanted to do ended up not being possible. It was also hard because we didn't expect to have to actually replay the entire game every time there was a new build.
To test it
for
some context,
especially toward the end there, because we had to make sure there was no bugs, and so we'd have to go and click through the entire 7-hour game.
Every choice, every route, both safe for work and not safe for work. It was a lot of testing that we did not anticipate having to do.
Like, could you imagine clicking safe for work route and then someone's Winky just flies out? Like, we can't afford that.
yeah, that was like a huge thing. We were like, if somebody clicks not safe for work route, we have to make sure nothing happens. So that was like, we were very strict about that.
Yeah.
But I think also for what we weren't expecting is the amount of like our ambitions were significantly higher than what we were capable, both financially and, like you said,
physically,
like the code and physically. So we were like, oh, we're gonna set the bar up here, and then it was like, actually the bar can only realistically be here.
So
which was a bit hard,
which is still wild because we have like 600 sprites and like 60 CGs, and that was still us being like, we have to tone it down.
Yeah
We were way too ambitious.
Would you consider making a queer game that isn't a visual novel?
Actually, so our next game, it's still going to be technically a visual novel, but it's going to be also more detective style. So we want to add more point and click, more locations, more mystery maps. So we are trying to expand on what we already know. Since this is our first game, we went mega simple, but we definitely do want to expand the type of endings we can get and how much you can do to do the game. We also have like a rhythm-based system for our main character in the next game because it's a horror.
Yeah, the next game is more horror than anything. This was a thriller ish with some tension laced in. The next one is horror.
Like mystery horror.
And we wanted like a panic mechanic. So you'll have to like time, you'll have to time breathing, and you'll have to do things like that to calm the character down.
Right.
So yeah, ambitions are high again.
Yeah. Complicated.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Another
good.
question about Misha's living with who was Misha living with in his childhood, and where did he immigrate from?
Ooh,
Interesting
very
question.
good question. There's nowhere in particular he immigrated from. It's just another like we never really thought about where, just because it was so
We also just didn't
far.
want, we wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that we kept things within what our scope of knowledge and understanding was, because by naming too many countries, we also end up opening ourselves up to misinformation. So he did immigrate to Sobena, but he lived with an adoptive family, but he actually ended up going to a correction facility because he was just too much to handle. A lot of why he works for Struxa has to do with his citizenship, which you do find out in the game a little bit.
Yeah.
So
What is a sprite?
it's a character, like these are sprites that you see on the screen. So
Just illustrations of the characters for the game.
they're just called sprites. It's a drink.
Sprite is a drink. I think that's all we have time for, question mark?
Yes. Is there any last quick questions in the chat? We could probably answer one more, but I think that was the last one.
Nice.
Why don't you tell our audience where they can find you, how they can get the game, just as a final reminder, so how they can reach out.
So we are on Twitter, so Nightshade_VN, but we will soon be changing to Thrill Switch Games to keep our brand now that we're going to be making another game. But we are still Nightshade_VN on Instagram and Twitter. We also have thrillswitchgames.com, which you can find all of our links. Our game Nightshade, You're the Drug, is available on Steam, Itch, and on Jast Blue, so Jast USA. So yeah, you can check out the games there.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And this was a really great panel. I just can't wait till I recover from FujoCon to actually play the game now. So I need to play it.
That's absolutely fair.
Yes,
but
please rest.
Thank you
so
for
much.
moderating for us. And
You're
thanks
so
to everybody.
welcome.
Yeah, we really appreciate y'all hanging out with us
Yeah,
while we bumbled through.
a little bit, but we're fine. Thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye.